Russian President Vladimir Putin is in China this week, looking to seal a $400 billion supply deal with the country, which TheStreet's Dan Digger thinks will soon finalize, triggering a massive shift in the energy world. Dan, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Joe.
So, Dan, we have Putin and China. You seem to think this is a really big event.
Huge. It's so large. Of course, it couldn't come at a more opportune time for the Russians. The Russians and the Chinese have been dancing around this deal for about 10 years, but right now there's pressure to get it done, obviously because of the problems that have emerged in Ukraine and now we have sort of a west-east kind of standoff, which I've always maintained natural gas was going to be the fulcrum that was going to change the balance in what the outcome of Ukraine will be. So obviously, if the Russians find another massive customer for natural gas outside of the EU, it gives them a tremendous opportunity to use that supply that's going into the EU, for a politically charged purpose. I mean, you can literally start to squeeze the taps closed to get what you want in Ukraine, and that's precisely what I think is going to happen. It's why I think Putin ordered troops home just yesterday. It's part and parcel of this Russian-Chinese natural gas deal that's about to be signed.
So you pulled the troops back. Why exactly?
Because he doesn't need them. There's nothing militarily that he can accomplish that he cannot accomplish with natural gas. And it's part of this deal for another customer in China that gives him so much influence, so much extra power, so much more leverage into the EU and the outcome in the Ukraine, going in, obviously not immediately, but into the winter of 2014.
So controlling the spigots is far more influential geopolitically than any gun or tank can be.
No question about it. And this deal is so enormous, it's going to ramp up to, it'll take several years, but it'll ramp up to 60 billion cubic meters of gas a year, which is literally half of what the Russians supply to all of the EU. And that is an enormous extra supply chain that's going to go out there. They're going to build pipes to send it out there. And, for the Chinese, for their part, they need it as well. There's been some terrible smog problems in the eastern Chinese cities that have gotten a lot of press recently in the last several months. That's caused of their reliance on coal. Obviously, a new source of natural gas will help them mightily in this area.
So if I'm an investor, how do I play this?
Well, I think that there's going to be a massive shift in the entire natural gas kind of panoply in Europe. In some ways, that will affect some other sources of natural gas, LNG from Qatar, LNG from Australia. Those are interesting plays. But again, even the kickback arbitrage in the U.S., although it won't be large, will matter. And I think that you do have to take this summer to very closely study your natural gas stocks. I'll be talking about them all through the summer for the winter coming in 2014. That's where the money's to be made.
All right, Dan Dicker, thanks so much.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks again to my guest, senior contributor Dan Dicker for TheStreet in New York. I'm Joe Deaux.